This content is based on facts for educational purposes. We do not intend to defame any company. Logos are omitted for copyright.
You know the drill. You're trying to log into a website and suddenly you're staring at a grid of blurry pictures, trying to find all the traffic lights. We've all done it. But what if I told you there's a hidden story, a massive secret behind that simple click? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain.
Okay, let's just get right into it. That little security check you do, probably multiple times a day, is so much bigger than you think. What if I told you that every time you do it, you're actually doing a job you never applied for, and a job you are definitely not getting paid for?
So first, let's talk about the official story. This is the test we all know and, let's be honest, sometimes find a little annoying. It's that little gatekeeper that stands between you and, well, pretty much everything you do online. On the surface, its purpose is pretty simple. It's a digital bouncer. You see, almost half of all internet traffic isn't human at all. It's automated bots, and this test is designed to keep the bad ones out and let the real people, us, in.
And that's where this thing called CAPTCHA comes from. The name literally spells out what it does. It was created way back in the early 2000s as a defense against spam. But, and this is a big but, it didn't just stay a security tool for very long.
Right, so this is where it gets really interesting. The creators of this thing, and later on Google, had a light bulb moment. They realized that all of this human brain power from millions of people all over the world solving these little puzzles, well, that was an incredibly powerful resource just waiting to be used.
And that's exactly what they did. In 2009, Google bought the system, renaming it reCAPTCHA. But not just for security. Nope, they put this giant, unsuspecting global workforce on a new project, reading and transcribing words from old books and newspapers that their own software couldn't figure out.
This timeline just lays it all out, doesn't it? Every single time you typed out one of those distorted, squiggly words, you were doing what's called a microtask. You, personally, helped digitize the entire archive of the New York Times and millions of books. But once the libraries were scanned, the work didn't stop. It just changed.
And here we get to the heart of it. Your job description was updated without you ever seeing the memo. The task switched from words to images, and the new beneficiary of your work was one of Google's biggest and most ambitious projects.
Oh yeah, this one. We have all done this a million times. Clicking on the traffic lights, the crosswalks, the buses. It feels so random and kind of pointless, right? Well, it is anything but random.
Just like you did with the books, every single click is a tiny piece of work. You're labeling an image. You are confirming a piece of data that a computer struggles with, especially when the image is grainy or taken at a weird angle.
And there it is. You are part of a massive, globally distributed, completely unpaid army of AI trainers. You're training the artificial intelligence for self-driving cars like the ones from Waymo, which is Google's sister company. You are, in effect, the human labeling farm.
I mean, think about it. For an AI to drive a car safely down a busy street, it needs to learn from an absolutely staggering amount of data. By identifying all of these objects over and over, you are literally teaching that AI how to see the world so it knows the difference between a fire hydrant and a pedestrian.
So let's try to wrap our heads around the scale of this whole thing. Because when you add up every tiny click from millions of us day after day for over a decade, the amount of unpaid labor is it's mind-boggling.
Some researchers actually did the math. They calculated all the time we've collectively spent solving reCAPTCHAs over the years. The grand total? 819 million hours. Just let that number sink in for a second. 819 million hours of our time. To put that in perspective, that's more than 93,000 years of nonstop work. And if you were to actually pay people for that labor at minimum wage, it'd be worth over 6.1 times billion dollars. And that's not even counting the environmental cost. This is, without a doubt, one of the biggest work projects in human history, and it's all been done for free. But here's the kicker. The cost isn't just your time and your clicks. As reCAPTCHA got more advanced, it started to become less about the puzzle and more about, well, you. The newest versions often don't even make you click anything. So how on earth do they know you're human? Well, they watch you. They use these really sophisticated background techniques to analyze your behavior. One of the most powerful is called canvas fingerprinting. It basically forces your browser to draw a tiny invisible picture, which creates a unique digital signature for your specific device. This allows Google to identify and track you across the millions of websites that use its system.
So what do you call this? This whole system where our normal, everyday online actions are being captured, bundled up, and put to work for a giant corporation, all without us getting paid a dime? Well, researchers actually have a name for it.
It's called the subsumption of the social. Okay, I know it's a bit of an academic mouthful, but it's a fancy way of saying that things that used to be outside of the economy, like our basic shared human ability to recognize a bicycle, are now being pulled in, captured, and turned into profit. And what's wild is that this new kind of digital labor actually looks a lot like very old, pre-industrial forms of work, right? It's unwaged, it happens everywhere, and the worker is pretty autonomous. The big difference now is that it's all supercharged by the internet, allowing it to happen on the scale of our entire society.
So here's the bottom line. The digital commons, our collective intelligence, our shared ability to just make sense of the world around us, has been turned into a resource. It's being enclosed and monetized. Your simple act of proving you're human has become the raw material for this giant new digital factory.
Which brings us right back to where we started, but now with a totally new way of looking at it. The next time a website asks you to click on all the squares with a crosswalk, it's worth taking a second to remember you're not just logging in, you're working. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. In this whole exchange, are you the one using the service, or are you the one being you?